Hello, readers, and welcome to week 14, day 2 of the Bible in a Year live podcast project. My name is Mel, and
My name is Greg.
we will continue our reading from Judges chapter 1 and 2. Don't forget, you can join us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a live discussion on what we have read this week. The details for the Zoom meeting are in the description below. Now let's dive in.
Judges chapter 1. After the death of Yehoshua, the people of Israel asked Adonai, "Who will go up for us first to fight against the Canaanite?" Adonai said, "Yehuda will go up here. I have handed the land over to him." Yehuda said to his brother, "Shimeon, come up with me into my assigned territory so that we can fight against the Canaanites, and I likewise will go with you into your territory." So Shimeon went with him, Yehuda went up, and Adonai gave the Canaanite and the Perizzite into their hands. Of those in Bezek, they killed 10,000 men. They found Adonai Bezek and in Bezek, and they fought against him. They killed the Canaanite and the Perizzite, but Adonai Bezek fled. They pursued him, caught him, and cut off his thumbs and big toes. Adonai Bezek said, 70 kings, with their thumbs and their big toes cut off, gathered food under my table. God has paid me back in accordance with what I did. They brought him to Yeshua Hamim, and he died there. Then the people of Yehuda fought against Yeshalahim, captured it, overpowered it with the sword, and set the city on fire. Afterwards, the people of Yehuda went down to fight against the Canaanite who lived in the hill country, in the Negev, and in the Shephelah. Yahulah also attacked the Canaanite living in Hebron, formerly called Kirat Arba, and they overpowered Shishai, Achiman, and Talmai. From there, they attacked the inhabitants of Devir. Devir was formerly called Kirat Sephar. Kelvav said, "To whoever overpowers Kirat Sephar and captures it, I will give my daughter Aksa as his wife." Othniel, the son of Kanzaz, Caleb's younger brother, captured it. So he gave him Aksa, his daughter, as his wife. After becoming his wife, she persuaded him to ask her father to give them a field. When she got off her donkey, Caleb asked her, "What do you want?" She said to him, "Give me a blessing. Since you gave me land, the Negev, also give me sources of water." So Caleb gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. Next, the descendants of Canaanite, Moshe's father-in-law, went up out of the city of date palms with the people of Yehuda into the Yehuda desert south of Arad, and they came and settled with the people. Yehuda went with Shimon, his brother. They overpowered the Canaanite who inhabited Tizphat and completely destroyed it. The name of the city was called Hormah. Yehuda also took Azar with its territory, Ashkelon with its territory, and Ekron with its territory. Adonai was with Yehuda, and they took possession of the hill country because they could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley. since they had iron chariots. They gave Hebron to Caleb, and Moshe had said to do, and he drove out from there the three sons of Anak. The people of Benjamin did not drive out the Yevusi who inhabited Jerusalem. Rather, the Yevusi continued living with the people of Benjamin in Jerusalem as they do to this day. The house of Joseph likewise attacked BIAYL and Adonai with them. The house of Joseph sent spies to BIAYL. The city was formerly called Luz. The spies saw a man coming out of the city and said to him, "Please show us the way to enter the city, and we will treat you kindly." So he showed them the way into the city, and they overpowered the city with the sword. But they let the man and all his family go free. He went into the land of Hittim, built a city and called it Luz, which is its name to this day. Mnasseh did not drive out the inhabitants of Beit Sha'an and its villages, Ta'anak and its villages, Dor and its villages, Yevleam and its villages, or Megiddo and its villages, so that the Canaanite managed to keep on living in that land. In time, when Israel had grown strong, they put Canaanite to forced labor, but failed to drive them out completely. Ephraim did not drive out the Canaanite living in Gezer, so the Canaanite continued living in Gezer along with them. Zebulun did not drive out the inhabitants of Kitron or Naolel, so the Canaanite continued to live among them but became subject to forced labor. Asher did not drive out the inhabitants of Akko, Zidon, Achlav, Ikziv, Helba, Aphik, or Rekov. So the Asheri lived among the Canaanite who were living in the land because they did not drive them out. Naphtali did not drive out the inhabitants of Beit Shemesh or Beit Anat, but lived among the Canaanite living in the land. However, the inhabitants of Beit Shemesh and Beit Anat became forced labor for them. The Amori forced the people of Dan into the hills, for what would not let them come down to the valley. Amori had resolved to live in the Harris Hills, in Aelon, and in Shah Alvim, but when the power of the house of Joseph grew greater, they became subject to forced labor. So the territory of the Emori was from the scorpion ascent and the rock upward.
Now the angel of Adonai came up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I brought you up out of Egypt, led you to the land I swore to your fathers, and said, I will never break my covenant with you. You, for your part, are not to make any covenant with the inhabitants of this land, but must tear down their altars. However, you have paid no attention to what I said. What is this you have done? This is why I also said, I will not drive them out before you, but they will be on your flanks, and their gods will become a snare for you. When the angel of Adonai spoke these words to the people of Israel, they began crying and wailing at the top of their voices. So they called the name of that place Bochim, crying, and sacrificed there to Adonai. When Joshua had sent the people away, the people of Israel had gone each one to his assigned property in order to take possession of the land. The people served Adonai throughout Yahshua's life and throughout the lives of all the older men who outlived Yahshua and who had seen all the great work of Adonai, which he had done for Israel. When Yahshua the son of Nun, the servant of Adonai, died, he was 110 years old, and they buried him near the boundary of his property in Timnath Heres, in the hills of Ephraim, north of Mount Gaish. When that entire generation had been gathered to their ancestors, another generation arose that knew neither Adonai nor the work he had done for Israel. Then the people of Israel did what was evil from Adonai's perspective and served the Baalim. They abandoned Adonai, the God of their fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods, selected from the gods of the peoples around them, and worshipped them. This made Adonai angry. They abandoned Adonai and served Baal and the Ashtaroth. The anger of Adonai blazed against Israel, and he handed them over to the pillagers, who plundered them, and to their enemies around them, so that they could no longer resist their enemies. Whenever they launched an attack, the power of Adonai was against them, so that things turned out badly, just as Adonai had said would happen and had sworn to them. They were in dire distress. But then Adonai raised up judges who rescued them from the power of those who were plundering them. Yet they did not pay attention to their judges, but made whores of themselves to other gods and worshipped them. They quickly turned away from the path on which their ancestors had walked, the way of obeying Adonai's misfought. They failed to do this. When Adonai raised up judges for them, Adonai was with the judge and delivered them from the hands of their enemies throughout the lifetime of the judge. For Adonai was moved to pity by their groaning under those oppressing and crushing them. But after the judge died, they would relapse into worse behavior than that of their ancestors, following other gods to serve and worship them. They abandoned none of their practices or stubborn ways. So the anger of Adonai blazed against Israel. He said, "Because this nation violates my covenant, which I ordered their fathers to obey, and they don't pay attention to what I say, in the future I will not expel ahead of them any of the nations that Yahshua left when he died. This is how I will test Israel, to see whether or not they will keep the way of Adonai, living according to it, as their ancestors did." So Adonai allowed those nations to remain where they were without quickly driving them out. He did not hand them over to Yahshua.